Check, check, check. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Cannabis Canada. Let's get this toned down, please. Just a little bit. Wow. Take that off, please. I apologize for the feedback. Wow. And my microphone may actually be too loud. Check, check, check. I'm hoping that's a little bit better, guys.
Check, check, check. Hoping that's a little bit better, guys.
Actually, I need to go a little bit lower. Okay, there. Check, check. Mic check 1, mic check 2. Okay, that should be a much better. Welcome back to Cannabis in Canada with Jason Wilcox. It is August the 31st, or October the 31st. Holy crap, it's Halloween. On that note, it's happy Halloween to everybody, and yeah. And get rid of this out of my ear so I don't hear any feedback. Is everything coming through okay for you? You have yours on here side. Here, this will tell you best. Just to let you know what's going on. I can't get into anything here, so. All right, today's show we got a lot to talk about. I've got to definitely do something about this hair, and. We got a lot of things to cover. I got to see who we got in the chat. And to my friends on YouTube, welcome back. We apologize for the glitches we had last week. We're going to have to still tone this down. Please. Can you use the heat that has the heat sensor? Dial it down to about 300. Oh, Jason Steele, good stuff. Well, Jason, honestly, we spent yesterday, and to everybody in there that has ever had to work with a real studio stuff, like equipment stuff, still just, it's doing something really bright off. Yeah, get that tone. That's why we pay so much for that light. We're able to actually change the heat and the texture of my skin. Anyway, we got so much to talk with and to talk about, and if you would like to come on the show today as we're going, we're able to do that too on the fly. I believe we can just bring you right in from the chat and have you join the discussion head on and wave your opinion as we go through them. Can I get the rest of the things there? Sorry, thank you. As well, I got to get this stuff in order here, because it's a little bit difficult. We also got our other cam that won't work because it's on the wrong part. Today we need to talk about, I'm really way too high right now. I just did a really big dab just before we went on the air because we finally got all of our stuff dialed in, and I really did a big dab, and I was just like, man, I'm out of it. You know, I'm toast. So I'm trying to honestly recover from that, and at the same time I'm looking at myself and on this secondary screen, and yeah, I wish I could show you guys what this studio actually consists of, you know, from this computer over here to this computer to the secondary monitor over here, which is kind of out of the picture, to the other cameras, you know, that helped to make up the studio. That's what I mean by spending all day yesterday, Jason, putting this together. You've been a long time watcher of the show and supporter of the show, and often provide very, very logical and most importantly sound, which is what matters to me, sound information. So I'm just waiting on a document to come in here. Now, the medical patients out there who've received the document from Health Canada, we're going to talk a little bit about that, because it's all about language. The federal government of Canada is so good with their language. It's really, that's what this is about. It's all about language. And what happens right now is they've sent this letter out, and they repealed the ACMPR. Now, as the client in Allard, as the person that hired John Conroy to go fight the government, to put him under a restraining order known as an injunction, to put them on trial, the remedy, remember the judge, Justice Phelan, said to the government, you got 6 months, come up with something. That was the ACMPR. Then, with no committee oversight, no public consultations, and no consultations with the patients or people that are party to the program, they made the choice to repeal the ACMPR and keep us all on notice. And I've told you all for about 4 months now on my show that since the Canadian Medical Association made their position statement known that they want to repeal the ACMPR, that they don't want a medical program, that they don't want to be the gatekeepers to a drug that's not in their book. Does that language not sound familiar? We used it in almost every constitutional challenge along the way. Doctors, you shouldn't be the gatekeepers. It should be in herbology, where a herbologist can serve it. It's a plant. God damn. What we also got going on here is when the government had us looking left, they moved right without any public. They knew what they were doing. Now, I also would remind everybody that the federal government of Canada has not came to my lawyers and said, hey, we want to lift the federal injunction that's protecting these patients. The federal restraining order, it's quite embarrassing for the federal government to be under a restraining order, but they are. But while they're under a restraining order, strategically, they managed to repeal their own remedy to that trial, that injunction that's on them. That remedy has been repealed, so that's why they never went in front of the judge. They had this all planned. They've now emulgated us into the Cannabis Act of Canada. And what I mean by that is that nothing changes for the first year. Nothing. Do any of us know what is coming and what's in the new regs? No. Do I sense that the government does not want a two-tiered program? They don't want people being able to grow 299 plants? And nor do all those big 90 companies that have lobbyists paying our federal government deep pockets, deep pockets, to write such legislation that would bind us to such and govern such laws, such crazy laws. The Canadian Medical Association especially, because there's a branch-off group, you might know them as the Canada Clinics. It's all doctors. They're regular doctors, regular GPs, but they stood up to the CMA and said, no, we've seen the health in our patients. We've seen the seizures stop in our patients. We've seen the patient get off walkers, get off canes, get out of wheelchairs, have a better quality of life in general. Doctors have stood up and had the balls to say, no, screw you to the CMA. That's why there's 75,000 people, I think, or whatever they said was in the ACMPR right now, or the repealed ACMPR, sorry, it's the new Cannabis Act. I'm going to actually try and pull that up here so we can take a look at exactly their language. I am quite frustrated. I'm disorganized this morning, admittedly. I wasn't planning on going on the air today. I spent all day yesterday, honestly, busting my balls, get this equipment fixed because I could see a new dawn. A new dawn is in a new rising, a battle, a legal challenge. And we're going to talk about the driving challenge. Mr. Kurt Tusaw talked about the driving challenge, which I believe we have loaded up, yes? No, you didn't grab it? All right, I'll go get it. Just bear with me as I do stuff on the fly here. You guys got a great chat going anyway. I should pay attention to it a little better. I also should get on to YouTube's chat. Good morning to everybody on YouTube. Fuck. It's good to be back. I'm telling you, what's going on here in Canada and going on around the world. It's amazing to watch what they're doing. For me, it's like sitting back and trying to report on insanity. Watching them set up around the world, like in Australia. Like I happened to fly there to speak at an event. They flew me down there, and while I was there, I learned about their doctorian laws. But I also learned about a connection, how Canada was supplying already another country. Then I learned about how we supply all these different countries already. Then I realized there's a global legalization going on, and America's just pretending not to be part of it. They're probably the ones spearheading it. All said, I see legalization in America federally within the next 5 years. Even with Trump. Dumpy Trump will still do it because he'll justify it through the money. But to each their own. You know, we all have our things. But for me, repealing the ACMPR, and I need to still speak with my attorney about this, is what does that exactly mean? If the remedy to Allard was the ACMPR was to keep patients safe so we could grow as many plants as we want, and it's between us and our doctor. That was supposed to be the remedy to the case. Now the remedy is, okay, you're in the medical program, and in January of 2019, we're going to let you know what the new regulations are. Why are you waiting so long to tell us what the new regulations are? Why can't I know now what it is? Why is there no public consultations going on right now about these new regulations that are to come into force? Because I've been part of the federal medical program since its inception, just about, since 2003. Its inception was 2001. So 2 years off. And of course, it took me 2 years to get the right doctors to sign. It wasn't easy back then to get a doctor to sign. Anyway, what bothers me is nowhere in all the provincial territorial bylaws, legislations, provincial talk, hearings, are they talking about production? Because everybody feels the ACMPR is still here. People have been arguing with me, Jason, the ACMPR is still open. And I'm like, it's been repealed. So just because it's still open, if you read the letter that Health Canada sent out, it says we're going to continue to process licenses under the ACMPR until such date when the new regulations come into force, which is January. I don't know if I might get some dates mixed up, whatever, but these are the big ones. These are the big moves. This is like playing, I told you, this ain't checkers, this is motherfucking chess. And you know, dogs that have fucking been in the yard, you know what I'm talking about. This is chess, straight up. Strategic warfare. And strategically, they had us all looking left. They moved in and repealed the ACMPR, no public consultation, threw us into the Cannabis Act, no public consultation, no oversight, no committee oversight, no reviews, and no consultation with stakeholders like myself. But they did it. Check into this stuff. Now, not all of us are paying attention, and not all of us give a crap about what does this mean just because they repealed the ACMPR. So what? That was the remedy to Allard. Now, remember, you have a constitutional right to reasonable access to cannabis for autonomous use of cannabis for the medical purposes. It does not give you a right to grow a plant. I fight teeth and nail, and God knows, everybody in this country knows, I've done this because I love the plant and what it can do for people. But it doesn't give me a right. There's no Charter of Rights and Freedoms that says I have a right to grow that plant. I have a right to use its medical properties. So once all these companies, these 90 companies, get all their stores supplied, and we're going to talk about supply after break, but all these stores or all these people that got into this about, I just lost what I was talking about. I'm going to actually get to a break here and get my dab rig and everything. Can you pass me all my gear and shit over there? I jumped on here so fast for these preloads. Guys, please keep the chat going. Share some information around. Jason Steele, if you're in the chat, can you do me a big favor? Or Keith Gravel, if you're watching, can you guys please grab the ACMPR position paper and post the link inside here so that people can see? I'm going to show it in my own thing, but I don't go through the whole. It's too many pages to read the whole thing. I just show where the doctors say they don't want the ACMPR. They say they're going to repeal it, which it's been done. And they go on to say, I got to lower my voice because I'm probably coming through a bit distorted if I'm not careful. Oh, it is chess, mate. It is, Duke. It's chess, 100%. Thank you, Nathan Murphy. Wow, that was fast. Good job, man. I'm actually going to jump in and that's where I can get my link from. That'll save me a lot of time. Thank you, guys. This is so much easier when we work as a collective. Can you imagine what we could do if we had our fucking offices like these LPs have? Give us one office with a bunch of our best people from our local regions that want to put in the time in a reasonable cost, because I know from doing the coalition, getting people to volunteer for free, I can only get 15,000 of the 35,000 people out there to get involved. 35,000 people who had licenses to grow cannabis, I should say. Okay, so now I've got this pulled up. Let me just, how do I do this? I pull it up here. And then I send it over here. Okay, here's the understanding, the new regulations for the medical purposes of cannabis. Now we're going to go back and forth here. I'm also going to do, actually one sec here. Yeah, go ahead and read through that. Please grab the URL link. It's extremely long, or simply Google understanding the new access to medical purposes, because you need to understand. This is where the trickery and fuckery is. Excuse my language, but you will see for yourselves what I am talking about, 110%. And that matters. I'm just setting something up here so I can actually jump back and forth between these. How come I can't shrink that? Huh. Okay. Anyway, we got these here. I'm going to jump back into there. Check. Still going. Okay. So I'm still figuring this out here. I'm not quite sure why I can't shrink what I want to shrink.
Do you want to shrink what presented?
Yes, I wanted to make a little box. Medical patient rallies, what you think? I think, Patty, that's what we need. We're going to get into this. Again, this show may go 2 hours today. I don't know. I'm not playing around. I know that we need to talk about this. And people that have followed me, I've been on the air for 10 years. 11 years now. Last year was our decade celebration. 11 years I've been doing this, and I can be traced back 11 years. That's why I say patience and time tells all truths. Anything you want to say about me, do whatever. I'm one of the most trackable people on the goddamn internet.
Send it over.
Thank you. So I threw that up in the corner there, just so you guys know what we're doing. This is important, and I'm also going to keep with the news. I'm waiting on a document to come in that'll make it federally official for me to be able to legally say what I want to say. I can only say certain things. Thank you, Kelly Scott Calasante, or can never say your fucking name right. The former vice president of the Cannabis Rights Coalition. When I say former, I mean active. If we were to pull the coalition off the shelf, I got a few phone calls of duress from Kelly yesterday. There was a few different areas of things that we were concerned about. Most importantly, I think was Mr. Tusaw, there was a driving test that was going on, and there was a driving case that's been started now, which I'm going to talk about as well. But most importantly, where Kelly was going from is, I want you guys to think about the hanging fruit. They go and they say, hey, guess what? You get to store as much cannabis as you want in your house. You can have a ton of cannabis in your house, and we're not going to care. Look left. Keep looking left, because we're going to do that. Oh yeah, and guess what? We're going to actually start timestamp it from the date you get your application. But as I said, if you read further into these regulations that I got above me here in the right-hand corner or left-hand corner, whatever it is on you guys, you can see exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to what this what it means under the new purposes. I don't want to scroll through this, if I can even get my damn mouse on my right screen. I don't want to scroll through this too much, only because understanding the purposes of the new regs, I got to show you my key point, which I was going to do after break. Just bear with me, please. I'm scrolling through and actually looking for a specific part. There it is, actually. I think I got lucky. They buried in here. In general, every 1 gram of dried marijuana authorized will result in the production of 5 plants. Right now, if you get 5 grams, you get to grow 25 plants. Just so you understand right now what the regulations are. These are the regulations that are coming in, or that have come into force for people putting in at late applications. Like if your renewal dates are later than the said date in this document. It has it here somewhere. Somebody help me with that, with the math. Am I getting this math right? Because 1 gram of dried marijuana authorized will result in 5 plants. So 1 gram would be no different than 5 grams would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So they're not changing that part either. So this is really a lot of just the ACMPR being brought over. So, you know, like, I freaked out initially when I was told about this particular aspect, and I still believe that there's a lot more to come. Well, I can't find the part here, and I will, where they actually state their intentions. Let me actually pull up the Health Canada document too. Okay, so the position paper by the medical or is this a college? I believe it is. Yes, it's the College of Family Physicians. So the CMA, the Canadian Medical Association, and what they're calling for. Now I want the medical position statement. So the CFPH recommends the declaration approach in lieu of prescribing. A declaration by health professionals states only that a patient needs Health Canada criteria, allowing access to marijuana for medical use. Unlike prescription, and a declaration does not give doses or directions. I want you to read between the lines. Doesn't give doses or directions, and does not imply the physician recommends or advises the patient to smoke or ingest marijuana. So this is very much Health Canada getting into the doctor-patient relationship, and I believe will come out when it comes to court. But it's important to understand what they're saying here. They're not prescribing now. You already have a declaration. I have one right here. A declaration is a license. They can't authorize, or they can't prescribe cannabis right now because it's not in their books. They don't want to prescribe it later. They're using their own gatekeeper role against us. Problem is, this is Health Canada. Sorry, I'm raising my voice too high. My daughter's telling me. I'm going to try and turn my mic down a little bit. Maybe that'll help. Because it is a...
Closer to 0, the higher it gets.
Check, check, check. How's that, guys? Hopefully that's a little better. Now I can yell and now hopefully peek out, but I don't know. We'll see in a couple seconds here when it catches up. There is a delay. So if there's nobody to allow you to give criteria on dosing, remember, dosing is directly related to plant counts. Okay, sorry, I gotta turn my mic up. Guinevere, like seriously, let me know if I need this or if I don't. Turn that off. You're just gonna give back feed. Come on now. Try 30. Check, check, check. Hopefully this will work better. But I'm also in no super hurry. Like I said, we do this stuff for free because we care. We also do it because if you're a patriot to your country, you shouldn't allow any of this sort of falsehoods to come about. This is why I say lies. These are lies. The government even suggesting in lieu of, right? Even suggesting in lieu of, the CFP or CFPC recommends the declaration approach in lieu of prescribing. I call bullshit that you don't prescribe right now. More importantly, a declaration by Health Canada professionals, by Health Canada professionals, there it is, okay. By Health Canada professionals states only that medical patients meets the criteria. So what's the criteria? So you only have to meet the criteria allowing you to have access to marijuana for medical purposes. Unlike a prescription, a declaration does not give directions and does not imply that the physician recommends or advises the patient to smoke or ingest marijuana. So without any advice or numbers such as, well, I'm going to give my patient 5 grams, or I'm going to give my patient, sorry, 1 second, camera's working here again. There we go. So who's to say now, again, the doctors say this, and my point once again is relatively clear. If there's nobody to, I want you to think outside the box because I'm not making this up. What I'm doing is trying to break this down into layman's terms as best as possible, if this makes any sense. The federal government of Canada, by virtue of just reading the declarations and the position papers, they're very powerful when a college makes a position against continuing to be involved in the dosing. Now again, I'll break this down even a little further. So let's go down from doses, directions, and does not imply that physicians make or advise whether you smoke or ingest marijuana. Well, they're basically trying to tell the physicians, we don't want you involved in dosing. So if there's no dosing, there's no plant count, means that everybody grows 4 plants. I've been saying this on my show for 4 months because it was my biggest fear. I'm still continuing to stay on that, and it's a hypothesis at this point. I cannot prove this. But it's a hypothesis with enough anecdotal evidence to suggest what I'm telling you is going to happen in 2019. New legislation will not allow these large licenses that we see with medical patients. They will make it 4 plants for everybody, and if 4 plants ain't enough, then it ain't enough. There. Sorry, there. Now you'll get a lower mic feed. I turned my mic down. Hopefully that'll be a little better. Let me know. Okay. Yeah, well, it's getting that right number. Yeah, yeah, okay. Oh, you don't have my headset.
I do. Your phone's very low, so I wasn't able to really tell or gauge it.
Okay. So where is my phone?
That's good now.
All right. Well, I definitely need to do a dab. So it's one of those things. I gotta do a dab. It's one of those. It's one of those days. Thanks, Kelly. Kelly, it might be that time that we need to raise the banner again of the coalition. I know that I won't have the energy, nor do I have the will to want to go through another 5-year battle. But I will definitely support, endorse, and help the right organization, the right people. I think you understand what I'm saying. It was medical patients that paved the way through 16 constitutional challenges to get to where we are. And I don't think that the rubberheads in legalization world are actually going to get what the government's doing because they haven't been fighting them like we have for 20 years. On that note, this is Jason Wilcox. I'm just going to take a short break. Here's one of our older commercials we haven't played for a while from Green Planet Nutrients. And let me just get the appropriate logos taken off here. Dun, 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 dun. All right, guys, I will see you guys in a couple of minutes. I love you all. Please pay attention to what people like Kelly Scott, what Kelly's saying. I'm not going to keep repeating his name. What Kelly's saying in the chat. These things matter a lot. He's a gentleman that knows what's going on just as well as anybody. He is the guy that held me up on my darkest days during the coalition, and he's the guy that fought for 5 years straight for all of us to be able to grow this plant. But it was always for the medical patients to properly be able to look after their patients. And that was when compassion clubs were compassionate. But in Kelly's case, he's a caregiver to his wife who needs extremely large amounts of cannabis to treat cancer. So he's way more than just an activist and an advocate for cannabis or just a grower. He's really in my biggest inspiration as a caregiver to his wife, and as a strong man doing so for so long in under such strenuous conditions. He's able to find the light in the darkness. And yeah. And there's Daniel Pagnuti, another former board member of the coalition, who's here. And Daniel, I'll definitely give you a call. I actually tried to call you a couple of times, Danny. I was worried about you, so I hadn't heard from you. But anyway, guys, let me just get to commercial. I'm going to do a few dabs here and just throw up a couple commercials. This little dancing gorilla, I don't even know where it is. Which one's the gorilla? Oh, I see it. Okay. I'm going to play this little dancing gorilla thing that my daughter made. And then when we get back, we're going to pull up. Good morning, Justin McLeod, one another great administrator for Cannabis in Canada. He actually comes on, or sorry, not Justin McLeod. Yeah, again, all my names messed up. Keith Carvel, Justin McLeod, another great activist as well with Cannabis Canada. But we're bringing our team together. No, patients can't afford the LP system. Right now, here's the biggest problem. And just as I go into commercial, I want everybody to think about this. First off, the opening day of legalization, only one store had cannabis in BC. And it was in Kamloops, way up in Timbuktuck nowhere, in the mountains. Only place to have cannabis. And then there was a lot of other people that got cannabis and it was underweight. I don't understand that. I don't understand how licensed producers can be underweight. There's a lot of things that we have to talk about, and I want to get into. Most importantly, I want to get into again, we want to get into these acts. I can't do that without refocusing here somehow to get back on there. Most importantly, we do have the webcam set up for the tent to be able to show you guys what the tent looks like and where we're at. With Resin Seeds and some of their stuff. And we're going to call that the tent cam. So eventually, as we watch each show, we'll be able to show you updates on the tent cam, and where applicable, I can go in there and just tell you guys where we're at. Not much to see when they first start out, of course, but it is what it is. Anyway, I'll stop babbling now, and here is the funny gorilla footage and something my daughter threw together. So please enjoy that. Then I'm going to move on to a couple of professional. Actually, I'm going to start with a professional commercial, and then eventually I'll play that gorilla one. All right, here's one of the professional ones done. Thank you to Growing Exposed for allowing us to use this, and of course my longtime sponsors, Green Planet Nutrients. Thank you. Feed 'em you can tell we don't have no praise, we just take the truth. But they steady fouling
smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. Smoke weed like Bob Marley, getting high and I like to party. Mary Jane stimulates the brain, she blow the smoke, take away the pain. My dream house in my greenhouse with a flat screen and a big couch, half baked with a big bomb. Smoke it all till the weed's gone. Smell good, my weed strong, my money stack and my weed's long. Smoking Keisha, Wiz Khalifa, Snoop Dogg when I'm around the reef. It's beautiful when I roll up, it's like fine art when I burn it up. Smoking loud, we gon' turn it up. Smoking loud, we gon' turn it up. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. Put your lighters up, let's spark one. Getting high, let's blaze up. It was a long day, we lighting weed, we smoking, we don't give a fuck. Roll up, no stress, smoke weed, no protest. 420, we live, vibe rolling up in my weed ride. Put your lighters up, let's spark one. Getting high, let's blaze up. It was a long day, we lighting weed, we smoking, we don't give a fuck. Roll up, no stress, smoke weed, no protest. 420, we live, vibe rolling up in my weed ride. Grinding all this weed, we gon' have to break this up. Mary Jane's my main bitch, won't you come get fucked up? Oh, you don't smoke no weed, well I can't say what's up. In memory, your whack ass, when I light this up. Rolling it up when I'm blowing the weed, smelling the smoke and you know that it's me. Puffing on good and you know who it be. Smoke like a hippie, come fuck with a G. Light it up when I blaze one, light it up when I blaze one. We gon' smoke piff when that haze come.
Smoke piff when that haze come.
We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. Put your lighters up, let's spark one. Getting high, let's blaze up. It was a long day, we lighting weed, we smoking, we don't give a fuck. Roll up, no stress, smoke weed, no protest. 420, we live, vibe rolling up in my weed ride. Put your lighters up, let's spark one. Getting high, let's blaze up. It was a long day, we lighting weed, we smoking, we don't give a fuck. Roll up, no stress, smoke weed, no protest. 420, we live, vibe rolling up in my weed ride. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed. We be smoking weed, no stems and no seeds. We about to smoke and I'll be lighting up that weed.
Ever since 2 U.S. states legalized marijuana. The company, called Green Planet, carries everything anyone would need to grow plants, any kind of plant.
Check, check, check. Okay, we're back now. That allowed that to go. Allowed that to finish. That's funny that that's still playing. Oh, because it's playing on there. Oh, anyway, happy Halloween, everybody, and to my friends on YouTube. Wow, our numbers dropped when I went to commercials. People just almost got to remove commercials from their freaking list. It's like, it doesn't work. But hopefully the mic is coming through okay, and that was the most important thing that we fixed. These are professional mics. Anybody that's worked with mic packs, you know what I mean. They're like $500 just for a pack. But to give optimal quality, and that's still loud. I can actually hear myself in there. It's so loud, it's crazy. Okay, check. Send this over. And put up some logos. Just bear with me for a couple seconds, guys. Gotta do this stuff on the fly. I'm a one-man show. This is literally a one-man show where you gotta do your broadcast software, your cameras, and everything else. And even then, I've got a good team that helps us to get stuff out there. Some of our write-ups to my friends on YouTube. It's good to have a good audience back in there, and again, a good dialogue. Leave any comments or questions if you have them. Especially this show's not going to be a political. Hopefully, not too much longer. Political or legal. We want to get back to just doing growing. There's a couple of key moves that we're making that we just want to do it. Jason, yes, it would. If they get rid of the medical system, it would contradict the Allard decision. No, the Allard decision said that we have a right to liberty and reasonable access. Section 7 to Section 1 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So having won that, the judge said to the government afterwards, if you all remember, you have 6 months to come up with a remedy for this trial, for this conviction. The government came back with the ACMPR. That was the fix to the problem. Now, with the fix to the problem, they just repealed the fix to the problem. Whenever, can you go out for me, please? Grab 40. Thank you. One sec, guys. All right, sorry guys, we're back. But yeah, there's a lot to be said here. Again, I'm going to keep sweeping over and getting into some of the different, I'm trying to keep up with the chats as well. Overgrow Canada, this is the thing, is people can say overgrow Canada, but there's laws. And I often say this, we went up against reefer madness and we still grew and we did it every day and we're going to keep doing it. You can't stop the will of the people. When there's always a need for supply, somebody will meet the demand. That's just a reality too. And when people want Contosaur brand cannabis, they don't want friggin' milled, gamma processed crap from the federal government's LPs. That's their choice. And not all LPs are that way. Again, I'm not going to chop at the. This is the thing: is I'm an advocate and an activist for the right for people to grow. Sorry, I'm just going to bring these TVs down a bit. Maybe I'm killing you guys with my ears. There. And if that's too low, then let me know. Just say, Jason, it's too low. But I think that'll be a little bit easier on your ears right there. Okay, if you don't see your doctor to November 16th, Eddie, this is where the problem is going to lie for you, my friend, is where I'm going to be interested to see what they do for your renewal. See, they've given everybody else a date. And I believe you're okay because it's January, I think, of 2019. I'm trying to go, I've read a lot of federal documents. Yeah, to be a good activist, you need to read a lot of federal documents and you need to keep on top of what they're doing. And like we showed with the Canadian Medical Association, their position paper, and it gets uglier. I'm going to actually pull up while I'm on the fly here, as soon as I get my mouse on the right page. There we go. I'm actually going to look for the CMA position paper. Because that was a summary of the call. That was not the CMA position paper. Okay, here it is. So I'll throw this up in my little corner here. So up in my corner here, you'll see there's a CMA position statement. Canadian Medical Association. Okay? No fucking around. PDF. This is a CMA. Our doctors. The ones that are supposed to look after us. Just bear with me for a second. I'll put it to full screen as well for everybody, so please bear with me. Sorry guys, just bear with me for a second here, because this seems to be a different... There wouldn't be two position papers, that's for sure. I guess I'll go with this for now. I need to find where the other document, there's a supporting document that goes with this. It must be a background or something, not an actual position statement. Recommendations are provided for the CMA national level initiatives, healthcare planners and physicians in practice, despite and commit equal access healthcare to all Canadians. There are differences in access and quality of care for many groups. By removing barriers of both patients and the system side, it is hoped a greater access to appropriate care will follow. That, in my own mind, now, again, these are heavy words, but this little section right here is suggestive, again, by removing barriers on both patient and system side. And some of these barriers, again, talk about the paperwork, the long paperwork to get licenses and everything else. Wouldn't it be much easier just to say everybody gets to grow 4 plants, and if you're medical, you just you need to fill out a different form? It might be a statement. Thank you, whoever put that in there. If you have the link, feel free to throw it in. I have the stuff open. I'm confused at why I can't find, because they made it very clear what their intentions were. All right. See, I can't even get to my dad, man. This is like called loyalty to this one. So I really want to get this out there. I showed this on the past couple of shows. Okay, here's a news report that, I don't know if I can get into it. Okay, yeah, I think this is another article. This is by CBC, our good old friends that don't like us at all, but love the government's licensed producer system. There. Okay, so CBC, the Canadian Medical Association, right here. Canadian Medical Association would like to wash their hands of the medical cannabis program once the drug becomes legal in Canada. They didn't want to say when. Now this is from the Drug Policy Alliance as well, guys that used to be on our side. I guess there is no really our side or their side. There's really just a confusion that the government's caused. So a few weeks ago, medical doctors attended a conference, consortium, for the investigation of cannabinoids in Toronto. Things got heated and whatever, pushed around. This is what matters to me. Okay. Our view is really now that the government is obviously intending to legalize this. Once this is a substance that is available, again, access to all Canadians, there's really no need for physicians to continue to serve as gatekeeper role. I talked about this earlier. Doctors don't want to remain as gatekeeper role. This is very important. The CMA representative who walked out of that conference, Dr. Jeff, the vice president of the medical professionalism, he says the CMA has been vocal about its opposition to the medical cannabis system since the very beginning. I call bullshit on that too. I haven't yet to meet a doctor that said no to cannabis and just, yes, here, let me give you a ton of opioids instead. Anyway, you want your doctors, here's your doctors. This is CBC reporting. This isn't Jason Wilcox reporting. This is just me updating you. Our view is really now that the government obviously is intending to legalize this, once again, substance that's available to Canadians. Really, there's no need for the physicians to serve as gatekeepers. Well, the Dr. Mark Ware was one of our expert witnesses in Allard. Whereas on the other side of the debate, there was Dr. Mark Ware, and of course, he's one of our allies. So just so you see what's going on here within the CMA, I guess I may have misunderstood that this has not been their official formal position yet. It's something maybe they're banging around. I don't know. It's good to know that there are doctors out there like Dr. Mark Ware that's willing to stand up and say, no, you're not doing this, and no, this is wrong. And there's patients out there that are willing to fight and say what they need to. Sorry, thrown off again by this article. Yeah, I'm not going to keep pulling this out because I don't really need to back it up. You guys can do your own research out there, or you can believe what you want to believe. It's really not about belief, right or wrong, with anybody. It's more that this is what's going on in our country, and we can choose to just say, hey, it's happening. I'm just going to chill and smoke my weed like I'm about to chill and do my dab, and that's good. And then we can accept the other little cookies they give us, and I'm happy, don't get me wrong. I find it very conflicting when the federal government of Canada all of a sudden says to all the medical patients of Canada, you can store as much cannabis as you want in your house. It's like, I can store what? And you can store as much cannabis as you want in your house. It's a good cookie. It's like, thank you. Get you looking left. My friends, always remember there's a left and a right. Usually there's an agenda behind any sort of regulation or move that the government makes. And it's either because of public feedback, it's because they need to make more money, it's because they just feel like being retards. There's a lot of bad stuff. But if there is an activist out there, for me, this has become a hobby. I'm going to enjoy teaching you guys how to grow because a lot of people want to know how to grow 4 plants. So we've got a plant can, we've got all the stuff going there to teach you from a very small perspective, being in just a tent, very basic. 4 plants, it's very easy. And to show how some of them can differ for different reasons, we can show all this stuff. We can talk about phenotypes, we can talk about why any genotype expresses certain phenotypes. We can really get deep into growing. We right down to the point where I breed certain seeds. There's a couple more, so I've already got 2 that I've made for Vicky this year. And I'm going to make a couple more. I've got one of them is going to be the classic Alaskan Thunderfuck that my brother Kelly gave me from the island. Ended up getting a male and a female from that, and they're from like 1973, the seeds. So they're like fucking the original landrace. So I'm looking forward to that. Rec users can only store 1,000 grams. No, that's correct. Good point, Jason Steele. My friends, if rec users are only allowed to store 1,000 grams, I've been saying this on my show since we won in Allard. Please flood the ACMPR so they don't get rid of our program. They don't want us to research the other 400 compounds in that plant, the other 400 cannabinoids. They only want to talk about THC and CBD and CBG and CBN. Well, that's bullshit. You're disrespecting the plant, you're disrespecting the potential to heal, and most importantly, there's a good chance that cancer can actually be slowed and or stopped by cannabis. And to not explore that further is to do a serious injustice to Canada and the world. Because none of the traditional treatments are working. You don't just kill every cell in your body and hope to live afterwards. That's not a treatment. That's a fucking suicide mission. All right. I'm going to put my little dancing grill on. It started playing, so if it starts playing in the middle, I apologize. This is something my daughter threw together, just fucking around, trying to get us into a funny mood. I've got another commercial, and actually, let me pull down. Did you guys want to see the driving footage now that there's a case? Someone got charged here in Canada, and they were given a ticket. Now, whether the lawyers are going to grab this and run with it, I don't know, because the person wasn't charged. You know, the police have been smart enough so far in BC to not charge. Can't really explain why. Not going to question too much why, because I live in BC. But I'm glad they're not using the saliva test. So all they did was give this gentleman a ticket. But either way, there's duress, and this gentleman, I believe, will get attorneys and do what he needs to do. And I know Mr. Kurt Toussaint and Mr. Chuck Rafishi both have offered large amounts of their time and money to attack this law before this law harms too many Canadians. You know, way too many Canadians. Wow, okay, I see. I gotta find. There, okay, here's a driving video. Just bear with me. I'm trying to pull you guys up to driving video because I want you to hear it from the lion's mouth. It's a lot better to hear directly from Mr. Kurt Toussaint than to hear from anybody with respect to this, with respect to laws such as the driving laws, and to know that these lawyers, they're social justice lawyers. Mr. Toussaint is big time a social justice lawyer, just like his mentor, Mr. Conroy. And Mr. Conroy has both of those two are superheroes to me. You know, these guys change laws because it's the right thing to do, not because it's just the money. I think there's so much hate out there, so much conjecture you want to throw around. It's sad, but you know what? Having it done to me, I can only imagine how much they got to listen to when they take on massive cases. You know, I can only imagine. Grab a media file. We're gonna grab Mr. Toussaint, and here he is, guys. So, wondering about the laws, wondering about what's going on. If you know anybody who has been charged or otherwise, please get a hold of myself at cannabisincanada@gmail.com. Get a hold of really anybody you feel you need to get a hold of with respect to this. But most importantly, let's keep the lawyers involved. I've seen there was a release in the newspaper today. I have to open up Albert's feed there. Thanks, Albert. And see what that's about. I'm not sure what's going on. And it might be different from province to province. That's why I'm just going to put on what this is. What ultimately is going to be challenged is the actual science behind the test itself. There's an issue of taking your blood, which is a constitutional warrant, what's a warrant to take your blood. But to take your blood based on pseudoscience, a faulty science, that's not a provincial issue. That's a federal issue. Because it's the device that's being charged. It's the device that's causing the problem. Now, they may climb their way up through provincial court and then make the decision, like Owen Smith did, to go all the way to the Supreme Court, or to just stay where he was comfortable with a success in the provincial court and go home and have a good day. But instead, Owen knew it was better and they can make bigger change. And so did Mr. Tusaw. They went all the way to the Supreme Court. And thank God they did, or we wouldn't be enjoying the extracts like I'm about to. If I could slow my damn voice down right now. Woo! It's freezing in Saskatchewan. Man, it's freezing in BC, and I'm just being a big wussy about that, like for real. But here's a driving video, guys. First I'm going to play my daughter's little gorilla. Actually, okay, here's a driving video. Then there's going to be a little gorilla thing just to get you chuckling. Then we'll do a little race car stunt thing. And I want you guys to think about, yeah, now isn't that a good daughter? When your daughter turns 19, it's awesome because she can just, boom, up to the dispensary and back. And kids are real cheap at the age of 19 because they realize the cost of life. So for $10, you can get her to friggin' do a lot. It's kind of cool. I love my daughter to death, though. Huh? I don't know. Let's see how good it is first. So let's give a shout out to whoever this is, because these guys are, I think they're all the same brand anyway, the same makers, but CBD. I'm not sure who this is. There's a lot of new brands, a lot of new packaging, but I'm beginning to think that some of the packaging is the same people and they're just using different packaging, which we've seen a lot. But so be it. It is what it is. Sorry, Jason Steele, October 17, 2000, subject to provincial territory restrictions. Adults who are 18 years or older are legally able to see. Yeah, okay, yeah, no, 30 grams. Now we're talking about carry limits. Carry limits, and this is something else that needs to be challenged. When I get back from break, there's going to be this and more. Please post up your questions. If you have questions, we had some great people in the chat today, and there's a good opportunity to get those questions answered or point you in the right direction. And if you're interested in coming on the show, don't hesitate to contact me. I believe all I have to do is hold your name down. I'm not sure if that still works with this, but that's important. Anyway, here's Mr. Kurt Tusaw. When we were recording him for the Coalition documentary, this is a little side thing that we filmed, and yeah, once again, thanks for the free legal advice, Kurt, and thanks for staying on top of such things as the pseudoscience behind the cannabis testing itself. We'll see you after break.
There's two streams of thought there, right? There's C-45, which is the Cannabis Act, and C-46, which deals with impaired driving, and not just cannabis, but other forms of impaired driving. Here's my view. I don't think I've been under 2 nanograms a milliliter of THC metabolite in my blood since I was 15 years old, right? At no point. And you know, I say that because it's funny, but I say that because it's also true. And I think you could test somebody, you know, when they wake up first thing in the morning, that is a medical cannabis consumer, and I'm a medical cannabis consumer, that is always going to be over that threshold. And so what you do is you effectively criminalize an entire class of people based on their choice of medicine that you don't do with other medicines. You know, we're not going to people and saying, well, you've got, you know, 2 nanograms per milliliter of codeine metabolite in your system from the pill you took to help you sleep last night, but we could make up an imaginary number that has nothing to do with impairment and take people off the road as a result of that. And I think, you know, when you're talking about a very privacy intrusive thing, going into people's blood in a forcible way to seize their blood in order to test it, and the evidence that's yielded from that is not relevant to the issue to be decided, which is, was that person impaired? Because there's no science linking these arbitrary numbers to any level of impairment. Very much unlike alcohol, where there's a great deal of science that we can rely on. I think you've gone too far. And I think the courts are going to find that. I think the courts are going to find that the government's gone too far on C-46, and that those per se limits, at least, will be found to be unconstitutional. And there's, you know, this will warm your heart, there's momentum building to do a test case. There's been at least one prominent figure from the LP world, Chuck Raffici, who's publicly said he'll put the first $25,000 into a test case. I've talked to a couple of the impaired lawyers out there that do drug and alcohol impaired driving for a living. They're interested in taking this on. So, you know, we could be building a team to challenge that as well. You know, with C-45, the Cannabis Act, philosophically, I think that the government took the wrong approach by creating a criminal a criminal enforcement scheme with exemptions to create legal activity. I think that that's kind of backwards. I think it should have been a legal scheme with some exemptions, limited exemptions for certain types of criminal activity. But I understand why they did it. I mean, from a jurisdictional standpoint, the government, federal government, has criminal law power jurisdiction. They don't necessarily have the jurisdiction to regulate cannabis if it's not within a public safety or health context. And so they maybe didn't have a choice in their approach. I do appreciate that the Cannabis Act does a few things with the penalty structure that are positive. Eliminates mandatory minimum sentencing. People forget today, despite some court decisions finding unconstitutionality, but you can still have a mandatory minimum sentence for 6 marijuana plants in this country. The fact that you'll be able to grow 4 legally is a huge step forward per household. The fact that you'll be able to possess 30 grams of cannabis in public is a huge step forward. The fact that you'll be able to store an unlimited amount of cannabis in private is a massive step forward. All of those things make it harder for police officers to get warrants. All of those things make it harder for enforcement. And much of it signals just sort of a different direction that I think will permeate through policing culture, which we've already seen in British Columbia over the last few years, massive declines in enforcement. I think that's a trend that we're going to stay on. They've also lowered the maximum sentence for certain of the more serious trafficking offenses in cannabis. Currently, trafficking more than 3 kilos of cannabis still has a maximum of life in prison. Under C-45, it's 14 years. Is that too much? Of course that's too much. That's ridiculous. Nobody gets the maximum. I mean, I tell people you could sail a tanker truck of hash into Vancouver Harbor and you're not going to get life in prison, even though that's the maximum penalty, right? That doesn't happen. But it does have ripple effects. The maximum penalty of 14 years disqualifies accused persons from certain outcomes. The flip side of that, though, is that the federal government has made it a Crown option to proceed by summary conviction in every Cannabis Act offense. And so the Crown, either on its own initiative at the beginning of a prosecution or through deal making as you defend these cases,
indoors. In Colorado, it is now legal to have.
Find a balance moving through the pain, but they steady fouling, bearing on my fruits, feeding my battalion.
Persistence pays. Thank you for hanging in there. We got good chats going on both sides. So, to our friends on Facebook, fucking hardly breathing from fucking moving around. I got to get back to the gym, man. Vicky's at the gym right now. I am sitting at home doing the show, making excuses for why I need to do the show. Making my ass just simply back in that gym. It's just the long and the short of it. Yeah, okay. I can't through that. All right. Now, right on. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Donald. Thanks, Justin. And thank you to everybody that's hung on in there or hung on out there. We went 1 hour and 13 minutes today, so we're probably going to do a 2-hour show. I've got other footage I can still play. I've got some Beard Brothers footage. Shout out to all of our sponsors: Pacific Northwest Garden Supply, Green Planet Nutrients, Beard Brothers Concentrates, Team B Naturals. Another, this is something you'll be seeing in our series. A lot of, they make the CO2 canisters, the enhancer, and a big shout out to them. So for what we'll be teaching, you're going to learn to use CO2 implementation where you're not even needing tanks or emitters or sniffers or any of the really high-end expensive stuff you would need if you had a bigger room and you were trying to inject it with CO2, basically. That's your purpose, keeping 1,200 parts. 1,200 parts per whatever it is. Anyway, I'm still in this fucking that dab. But keeping it at 1,200, I know, is the most important thing with your sniffer. So many of you out there got this letter from Health Canada, and I guess I got to bring it up there a little more. So these are letters that Health Canada sent out, and this was letting us know that the Cannabis Act has been repealed. So this is some of the stuff I've talked about. I can't pull this letter up because it didn't come electronically. The government's gotten smart about this stuff. We can Alex Jones their ass anytime with the software I have. So it gives us the ability that other people don't when it comes to, like right now, broadcasting on the fly. I mean, throw up my logos. I'd love to be able to throw up this so you guys can read the language, because the language is what's got everybody spooked, and they've sent them, you know, and again, they're being very careful not to indicate who they are. That's what's on their envelopes. I'm not worried about my address and shit. Shit ain't hard to find. And the other thing is, yeah, let me see what's here. It says, so this talks a lot about just the continuation of the ACMPR. I'm just looking for anything that Health Canada will continue to align the expiry date of certificates with the period authorized by your healthcare practitioner in accordance with the class exemption under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act that took in effect March 2nd, 2018. This means that this period of use of the registration begins on the date of your registration certificate is issued by Health Canada instead of the date of the medical document. So basically what they're saying is the doctor, it used to be from when the doctor signed, and of course by the time Health Canada was done with it and got it back to you, it'd be 4 months before you were able to even start your garden. So they've removed that. Now they've made it so that if you do all your paperwork right and Health Canada stamps it, sends it to you, from that day forward, you're legal for your grow, as far as that goes. Arguably, you're legal from when the moment the doctor signs your prescriptions when it comes to medical use of cannabis. So there's a lot of arguments versus legislation that stands. Legislation that stands says you can't have anything. So that's totally irritating the shit out of me. It's my own headphones I can hear. Actually, I can just mute them from here. So let's get into this, guys. Did you guys, some of you guys are medical out there, you wouldn't be watching the show with me. What is it that you guys take away from this? Aside from new regulations are going to be being brought in on October 17th, we've read through those regulations, and a lot of them sound like they're pretty much the ACMPR being implemented into the new one. I don't see a date on here. See, the document I'm waiting on actually has the dates of their intentions to actually amend the Cannabis Act and its regulations. That's not languaged here. And what that means is that they're going to change them once again, and that could be in our favor, that could be against our favor. My issue that I have right now is they brought this cannabis, what's it called? The Cannabis Act and its regulations. That's all that's called. I don't see nothing called medical. All they talk about is them repealing the ACMPR. And that the coming into force of October 17th is the new regulations. Now the new regulations, this is where even myself, I'm getting confused by it. Because I've read through a set of regulations that seem to be nothing more than the ACMPR just adopted into the Cannabis Act, which actually would be a good thing. If they don't mess with the plant counts, then it's actually a good thing. So I don't want the people to think there's a ton of wars or nothing that we have to deal with. Oh, I know one thing I forgot to do. I'm gonna drop my mic. Oh shit, that would have been good. Ouch. Take a picture. I know you guys can hear me. Just bear with me for a sec. I'm actually gonna focus my camera. And hope that it works better when I sit down. A little bit, but not that much. We creation. Okay, for everybody on YouTube, and thank you for the shares and the likes, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, what I appreciate is the honesty. And that's the most important thing, especially when I'm wrong. You gotta remember, I'm not always right. I only go by interpretation and prediction. And when I say that it's based on a hypothesis, I mean that it's based on a hypothesis. My fear is that they're going to go after plant counts when the time's right, because it's the only large gardens remaining. Once you got all the microbreweries and everything else set up, 5 years from now, everything's going to be set up. I worry that it's then that they're going to tap people down for medical, especially if we remove medical. We need more research into medical. The government says by their own admission they need more research, but yet they go on to talk about all these pros and cons to using CBD and other products like it. Even their own commercials push using CBD. There's just a lot of stuff here. I'd also note the language is as I've said before, if you do have this letter, have a read through it, and you won't see them use any other language. They won't tell you this, that your doctor prescribed you anything. They'll tell you that your doctor authorized you. And because this is so confusing, I'm certainly not going to attempt this any further. I'm just going to move on from this at this point, and look at what we got going with Canada. The other big thing that we've seen is patients have not been able to get access for two reasons. There's a mail strike. Now again, a lot of you know this. I'm not no scientist here breaking news or nothing, but there's a mail strike, and there's no stores that have any supply that are ready to distribute because they're still training and building and trying to get to brick and mortar. So they're not able to actually fully do what's needing to be done. So it begs the question of, well, where does that leave the gray market or the underground? Because they still have a supply, they still have the ability to get it out to people. Are they the wrong people to do it? Is it wrong of them to do it? Or what's the best way to push back against saying, hey, Mr. Government, you messed up because you didn't give us the right supply? I think that's a big part of it too. So without having the right supply, that's a huge thing. it makes a huge issue for us. I am tired as fuck. Hey, Vicky Dab's in the chat. Where the hell is she from? I forgot where she went. She went to the pool, so she must be out of the pool on her way home. I'm assuming. That was fast. So I've been on the air a long time, obviously, guys. Yeah, see, I've been on the air an hour and a half. The wife went for an hour workout, like I said at the beginning of the show, so I might just keep gabbing away with or without a good focus. I see the camera's not there. I'm trying to get the other one going right now for you. I look forward to doing a little more shows. Again, we've talked about trying to look for this, how we want to do. Fuck, I can't even get my mouse working at all now. How we're able to get to do anything that's some new show guests, I guess is what I'm trying to spit out of my mouth. Not just us, but having other people that we can actually bring in through Skype and put you on the screen. They wouldn't know the difference. You know, they would think you were in the studio with your own backdrop. It's not hard with technology these days. It's more I think you have to have certain technology, but it's not impossible. I was going to bring in the camera. If it doesn't allow it, then it doesn't allow it. I can't say I didn't try it. Oh, it does allow it. So let me send this over and let me just resize this real quick. Oh, man. So this is just a secondary cam that we have there. Look at that friggin' hair curl. Holy shit. And my man boobs. I gotta work on this shit, man. Holy crap. But, hey, man, look at my Drew Edwards piece of glass, man. That's more important. No, that's like super cool. And I know this is roasted too. Vicky's fucking been pissed because she bought a glass cleaner and she cleans it and everything and she does a really good job. And then she leaves me for an hour and comes home and it's all fucked up. I don't know. Be good to get her back on the show, I think, for the future. That's for sure. I believe that would be, and again, not just her, but it's even my daughter. I've tried to convince my daughter to do her own show, even though she doesn't smoke weed. But she's had to grow up around a stoner culture, a stoner crowd. She's went to events since whenever where this has just been what she's been around, and that's why I'm surprised she doesn't smoke. It's an interesting fact. So you know, I almost wish she did smoke because then I wouldn't have to worry about her wanting to experiment with anything else. Well, maybe I would. I don't know. It's tricky questions these days as parents. There's shit all over me. But let's pick this up a little bit on the positive side. Hey, you know what? I'm going to play that gorilla thing. You guys thought I kept talking about it. And I didn't play it. And the only way I can play it right now would be to grab it this way. 1 second here. All right, grab it here. Oh no, I deleted it. Guinevere, where'd you leave it?
Videos on Seagate for...
Here, you want to pull it up so I can play it? Videos on Seagate. What'd you call it? I don't see it. You want to come find it, please? I had to delete it because it started back playing. I'm in your vid file on Seagate. Anyway, I got to keep going here with the chat. I can switch back to the other camera. I'm not sure what's wrong with it. I'm going to see if my daughter can try and take a shot at trying to fix my camera for me when she comes down. And that'll make it a little bit better. I'm not quite sure why it's doing that, but this is a smaller webcam that is more used. These are the ones actually they were using down at Pot TV for a while. They're actually quite good for just a webcam. It is Shatter Hoot time. It's also time to talk about the reality of the cannabis wars in Canada. I can't do this because I can't. Hey, can you try this camera first? Where is it here? Okay, here. Dig it in. Slide what over? Whatever?
The net.
The what? Go. Put it down. God damn it, you're messing with my show now. You're gonna piss people off.
What do you want?
I'm gonna flash a fucking camera on you is what I ought to do.
Where is the mouse?
There is no mouse. I have to use a secondary camera that you have pointed at the ground right now. Sorry, guys.
What do you want me to do with it?
Pull the file in. I was gonna play it for them. It's the file
Oh,
you
the
made.
gorilla. Yeah.
However, the laws are definitely in the favor of the plant right now, and that's because medical patients fought diligently to make that actually happen and take place. So that's an important part. Let me just get this turned back on here. Okay, that's an important part for you to remember. Damn, I gotta resize this again and everything. Huh. I'm not sure what's going on. All right, anyway, here's the dancing gorilla. I'll see you in a couple minutes. Go in here. Come here. Check, check. Check, check. Trippy, trippy. It's not working. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Technical difficulties. I don't blame him. This is killing my show. But thanks. It's dead now pretty much. Not much I can do. Check, 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 check. All right, we're back. For some reason I can still hear this gorilla, but it's probably because of the delay. We just killed the show right down to 11 people, but that's okay. That's how crews get stronger, and we learn from one another on dealing with different stuff on the fly. But that was fun. Oh, rip on my ears. Yeah, Cannabis Life Network, I'm sure that they where they got their content from too is the same thing. Though I really don't have a lot of like for that particular brand, but you know, to each their own. Some of their stuff can be satire, some of their stuff can be accurate, but at the end of the day, a couple of the owners are assholes anyway that fucked with me a while back. And yeah, so I'll leave it at that. But CLN, yeah, they've you know, whether you want to call them Jade Maple, CLN, call them whatever, they've done their damage to certain people, and time will tell all truths. But enough on the negative stuff. On the positive stuff, that dancing gorilla was actually something that I bought a special. You buy these for they're pre-made by Adobe, but you buy them and you use them in your videos on a green screen. And if you have the software and stuff, the capability to put all that together, it was something that my daughter was able to do, and she threw that together. So I thought it was kind of funny. I threw it into one of my videos recently with Brad. I was going to play that on break. Because I decided to go 2 hours, I'm expecting the wife home, so I'm just kind of waiting for her to come through the door and then I'll jump off here. Where are you going? What, Blaze? Well, did they call you in?
I was supposed to work at 2 to 9.
Why didn't you check your schedule? Okay, just forget it. I can get your butt up there. All right, love you. Love you. Alrighty, now what am I gonna throw back up here? Up in this corner, I'm only showing me though. I'm not showing what I want to show. There we go. So once again, this is the federal government's federal actual page. I don't need. It's good to have links to people that grab their information in language. You gotta remember, sometimes the people putting out the information aren't actual growers or advocates or activists in that respect to speak about medical home growers. One, they're not medical. Two, they don't fuck all about medical home growing. But when that content, that general theme, and it's good that it's getting out there. I guess that's what way I would put it. To me, it's like CBC printing a positive story about us. Take what we can get. That information needs to get out. People need to recognize that the ACMPR was repealed with no oversight, no committee oversight that we're aware of, no public hearings. Nothing that's normally done when you change a medical set of regulations that's going to impact thousands of medical patients, soon to be millions. Anyway, thanks for coming back. Please share it around, guys, that we are back on and we are continuing to talk about the cannabis, the federal government's position on cannabis. If somebody can post in the chat again, it might make it a little easier for me. Move that over there. There. It'll make it a little bit easier if somebody can send me a link. Then I can post a link. I'd like to see the CMA, or not CMA. I think it says what they did is they put it on the CMPA, or that's the ones who insure the doctors. There may be a position paper by them that's against the ACMPR. We're really looking for anything that is against the ACMPR. It's a position paper, and it'll be in that newsletter that Jason Steele mentioned. I just refuse to support that network and put up any link of theirs, that's for sure. I want to taint my site, that's for damn sure. But information is information. Go check that out if you guys want, and get the information. I thought that I had it here, but maybe I'm just not. Maybe I'm just not reading it right. I should show you guys what I'm working on if I'm going to do anything, because I'm kind of doing both here. Huh. See, that's all they had. Everything I'm just scrolled through there. I'm not going to waste your time with that. But what's interesting is that's all about the ACMPR, but it's been repealed. Jason Steele just pulled this up. So let me just open up a little bit and see what they were talking about. If you guys got dab rigs or friggin' or however you medicate, choose to dig her in now. Take that extra time for yourself. Realistically, I'm hoping. Oh, you guys can't see that what I'm reading here. I'm just reading through the same stuff. This is what Jason just sent to me. I just got a big dab all over my hand. Jason just sent, not to me, but posted in the chat there. This is the actual forum. So I'll open this up. Oh, damn, I was gonna die. All right. Let's tell the CMA Task Force legalization framework. So if you read through this part here, okay, Vicky's right. I hit that shit too hot. All right. Anyway, this particular part here, let me put it into full screen for you. This particular part here, as such, CMA's submission is framed by overreaching recommendations that the government must take a broad approach to public policy approach. Sorry, a broad public health policy approach in developing the legalization framework. Focusing on the legalization issue alone is inadequate to deal with the complexity of the situation. The CMA recommendations built on Canada's experience regulating alcohol and tobacco. The legalization framework must include marketing and packaging restrictions, restrictions on types of products and their potency, prohibiting home cultivation, expanding access to services, health and mental health services, expanding access to training programs for addiction medicine, and I don't know where the addiction is coming from, but making extensive educational resources on risks of harm to the user and others available. We must recognize that the legalization of marijuana is a complex matter overall. Overall, the CMA has submitted to the task force 22 evidence-based recommendations for a broad approach to medical to a broad public medical health approach. Blah. All right. Well. Oh man, got my arms out. Crazy. All right. Well, I'm hanging in there for the final 10 seconds here. Hey, how was this pool? Good.
I went to Shoppers and got some shit for the because we eat kids and we get back from the dock. Shit, that's
Well, this is interesting because in 2001, of course, was the inception of the MMAR mentioned earlier in the show. And of course, through the Charter Rights and Freedoms, ultimately led to the demise of the MMAR and the implementation or attempted implementation of the MMPR, which was then put under a restraining order and eventually abolished by Justice Phelan in the Allard trial. But this is more about the CMA, and this is important. See, this is why I said they didn't talk to any stakeholders, they didn't have any committee oversights, they didn't do what they traditionally do. Here's an example where they're talking about when they were developing the MMAR, you know, they took stakeholder feedback, they had committee oversights. They didn't just get to throw down any legislation they felt like. And that's a problem. That is something we have to watch for. And the CMA has raised strong objections and proposed regulations. Some of the CMA regulations, again, the CMA, they don't want to be the gatekeeper. They keep saying that over and over and over. We don't want to be the gatekeeper to cannabis. If they take this, if they take this approach of, if they take the approach of knocking medical program back so far, like, of course, this isn't until the new regulations get released, whatever they are. And those new regulations, I'm not talking about the October 17th regulations, I'm talking about the new ones that are still to come. People just haven't been really told about them. My concern is those regulations could, based on the wording in most of the documents, could very well say, 4 plants for everybody. And if you feel you're medical, you can use your medical card, or you can use your medical coverage or whatever. Maybe there'll be medical coverage offered to different patients. I don't know. I'm not sure how this is all going to play out. But the CMA, when you go through this, is quite informed.
Are you staying on, babes, or are you getting off?
I'm jumping off here. I'm trying to find that one. I've been having trouble finding my points today on different documents. I thought I had them queued up right, but I guess I didn't. Still working on that health. Not easy. No, I can't find it. Superior Court ruled. It was 2003 there, ruled unconstitutional. It gives a good backgrounder. Honestly, you guys should read what I'm scrolling through there. It gives you a good little backgrounder as to how we got to where we are. But all along, it's the Canadian Medical Association, and I mentioned these guys earlier, the CMPA. These guys down here, if I open this up to full screen, the CMPA is the Canadian Medical Protective Association that insures the doctors. So it's important to understand how all this works. And when you understand which departments rule, which departments basically, these guys insure these guys here. That's the only difference. The CMPA insure the CMA, but they both offer up the same position papers that are anti-cannabis. And for me, that presents a problem for us in the future. But there's a lot more that you can read about and you can make your own decisions from. It's my hope that the federal government will start to take cannabis more serious as a medical product and do things better for Canada. Anyway, my soup is just about ready, I figure, and I've probably got to go. It's one of those things, but everything else covered today. Jason Steele, thank you for the information put out there. Again, we cannot say enough about how important it is right now to stay safe when you're on the road. Keep your packages out of sight. Don't just, you can't be, it's known as open sight, no knock warrants. Open view no knock warrants. If they can see it, then they can come knock your door down. The police, for instance, if they come to your door. If they can see it with their eyes, that's why it's best to go outside and talk to them than to sit there with your door open, because if you have anything laying out they construe as illegal, they can take you down and have a no-knock warrant. So it's best, it's just a little thing to protect yourself, because it's not that every cop's bad, it's that some police are very negative towards cannabis growing, and they've been very assertive. Not in this province, where thank God this province won't even use these pseudoscience tests. But anyway, it's been a long show, and I want to thank everybody, including once again and all the different people that keep us going and keep me going anyway. And most importantly is you guys. Without you guys and the love that we get back, we wouldn't be able to do it. I love that I'm able to just fire on my show, and people are able to tune into it. I don't need to, I don't need to do much more. Now, after this much time, of course, I've drilled my numbers down to, what do we got, 13 people online? That's like really, really low. So on that note, thank you for hanging in there, and this is Jason Wilcox signing out and babbling at the same time, but that speaks volumes to Beard Brothers Concentrate, which is one of our sponsors. And once again, thanks for all you do, guys, and I just hope you go out and smoke a big one today and enjoy